member yields.
I thought
The chair recognizes the member for Fox Hill.
Yeah, I thought that the rule in this place was that if you wish to attack the speaker, that you had to come with a substantive motion, not stand up on the adjournment.
An attack.
It is an attack. It's an attack.
Members.
The speaker, as I understand it in this matter, made a ruling. So as far as that is concerned, the matter is done. Now, you can disagree with the decision, but if you want to attack the speaker per his office, you need to come on a substantive motion and say that you have no confidence in the speaker. You can't come through the back door in this way and do that. That's clearly inappropriate and in breach of the rules.
Thank you, honourable member. Member for Finance.
Yes.
I have been very patient listening to you. I have a question. How much longer do you have? And I'm asking that because I have no idea the contents of what you're saying. I have no idea. So in essence, that would be inappropriate in the very least. The fact that you are, correctly said by the member for Fox Hill, attacking the ruling of the chair. That's exactly what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. There's no other way to put it. Now, I'm a Democrat. That's exactly what he's doing. No, this is not rebuttal. This is not rebuttal. I have spoken to you privately about the matter. We left that conversation with an understanding. The understanding was not for you to stand in this place at this time and to do what I know not of. That is inappropriate. It is unfair. It is a low blow. So, and the member for Fox Hill is entirely correct. You have every reason to say as you wish, but you are wrong to stand in this place and attack a ruling which clearly speaks to Rule 35.3, that if any member has a difficulty with the speaker or the confidence in the speaker, then you come to this place on a substantive motion and ask for a vote of no confidence. If you are not prepared to do it, the ruling is irrevocable. You have no right to stand here and beckon to what is right or wrong and tell me who I should consult with and who I shouldn't be. That's inappropriate and extremely contemptible. Member for Long Island, take your seat. I am not finished. I am not finished. So you have every reason to disagree and have a point of view. You use the public domain. You do what you wish. But the rules are very clear. I've been very respectful. I have asked, I sought the deliberations for over 2 weeks, waiting for responses of the consultations I made. They were thoughtful, they were prayerful, and they concerned all matters. Don't stand here and give the impression that I have just sought the opinion of the Crown, of the law officers of the Crown. When I speak to speakers every day through the Parliament, through the Commonwealth, and I understand the sensitivity of the matter, this is not the way to do it. Not what you're doing today. And I condemn it. Member for Kalani.
Led to believe that any decision you make, if we disagree with that decision, we must move for a vote of no confidence, which we can never have. But Mr. Speaker, you nor any man is infallible, and you can make errors. So you're saying that whatever decision you make, by hell or high water, it's final. That's what you're saying, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Let me member for Long Island. I'll respond. Member for Long Island.
So with all due respect, I understand the angst in here, but the reality is, it is my understanding that the member for St. Anne's would have met with you earlier with regards to the position he hoped to clarify. And at the beginning of his contribution at this point, he said that he had also advised that he had gotten legal advice of his own with regards to the PAC. While I think that the member for Fox Hill is trying to undermine the fact of what he's attempting to do here by the rules as delineated in the rule book, also, I think the salient point here, Mr. Speaker, is that there is the separation of powers that we must be mindful of, and that is the legislative, the judicial, and the executive. And the Attorney General, or the Office of the AG, is the advisors to the government, not to the legislative. And that is the constitutional position which he is establishing. The Attorney General's office cannot be the advisor to the legislative here. Yes, there is the Law Reform Commission and there are law writers, but they are not advising here. They act on behalf of the executive. And so you've got to have those separations of powers, Mr. Speaker. That's the point he's attempting to make.
Very well. Member for Fox Hill.
The member for Long Island, I understand, the statement made by the member for Long Island. But with respect, that is again trying to reopen a matter which is already closed. The fact is the Speaker made a ruling. The fact is that the rules say a member shall not dissent from a ruling by the Speaker or the Chairman except by a substantive motion for that purpose. That's what the rule says. So when the member, and we're very careful to remain quiet until the member reached the point where he directly attacked the Speaker's decision. Where he directly attacked the Speaker's decision. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, as I understand it, and I'm not privy to what would have happened, transpired before moving the adjournment, but there's a procedure which is set out in Article 48 of the rules, or with Rule 48, which says how matters on the motion for the adjournment are supposed to be raised. And it says that you're supposed to be given a day's notice for that to happen. And you have to be satisfied that the subject matter is appropriate to be raised on the adjournment. And you're confined to 15 minutes. That's what it says. But to go back to where I started, if you wish to attack the ruling of the Speaker, you have to bring a substantive motion. And we did it ourselves, because we disagreed when we were in opposition with a ruling, and we brought the substantive motion to bring a vote of no confidence in the Speaker, which we lost. But we were able to air the issues which we had with the ruling, and that's the appropriate way to do it. As for the separation of powers, that does not arise. The fact is that the Speaker, as you rightly said, can consult whomever he wishes to consult. And if the government, from the government side, wishes to advance its position on a particular matter before the Speaker has made his ruling, there's nothing wrong with that either. The Speaker can make up his mind whether he wishes to accept it or reject it. And that does not in any way erode the separation of powers. That is a red herring.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Member of Long Island, I have to respond. Member for Long Island, take your seat. I have to respond. I'm responding to the member for Kalani. Take your seat, member. I've been extremely patient with this, and this is, I spoke to the member for St. Anne's prior to this. Privately. I advised the member for St. Anne's privately. I indicated to the member for St. Anne's to speak to the government leader about the matter because it would be ultra-virus to the rules as it presently exists based on where we are on the agenda. The member indicated to me that he would take another approach. The member did not indicate to me that the approach he would take would be what he's doing today. So as the member for Fox Hill rightly said, if the member intended to stand here and give a response on adjournment, then the appropriate measures should have been taken, and they were not. So it's completely ultra-virus and disrespectful, and it dishonors the agreement we had. Now, I don't know what's afoot here, but I advised the member accordingly. The answer to the member for Kalani, the chair is not infallible. The chair often makes mistakes, as all chairs do. But Parliament is set up in a way where there are measures and remedies for dealing with certain issues, like the other arms of government. When the chair makes a ruling, the ruling is final. Today is your day, tomorrow is someone else's day. This is life in this chamber. And we know many instances where the chair there was some concern about a ruling of the chair from both sides. This is life in this chamber. So it's not a matter of infallibility. It's just a matter of order and respect. Period. So if the chair took 2 to 3 weeks in deliberation, prayerful deliberation, to come to a ruling using all that is available to him, during that period of time, many things have happened. If the member for St. Anne's felt that it would be appropriate to introduce something for the chair's consideration before his ruling, he had every right to. Members sent me notes and letters, and so I received that. So to come to this place afterwards, and a ruling is made, and now you stand up and telling the chair that the chair is in error and breached the rules, it's aspersions. It's absolutely contemptible. And it's a suggestion to me that that members opposite don't know the rules. Because how could you defend this? Now, when member, take your seat. Take your seat. Member, take your seat. What I am saying is, members, one of the cries, and I've often said this to my clerks, members, I've often said that the majority of members in this House do not know the rules, on both sides. I say that without fear of contradiction. Because if the members knew the rules, we would conduct ourselves very differently. And so, I mean what I said. I have been patient. I believe I've been fair. I believe I've been open, and I have been a man of my word. Member for Central Grand Bahama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the record would reflect that I've always been respectful to you.
Yes,
as a matter of fact, on occasions where I felt very, very strongly about something I said, in withdrawing it, said that I withdrew it out of respect for you. And I think it's unfair to me, sir, for you to suggest that members don't know the rules. I think it's unfair for you to paint me with that brush there.
Very well.
Disrespect.
Very well. The chair will retract that, and the chair's intention is not to offend members who are not involved with this discourse. But I am very concerned when I have spoken to individuals in camera, and then I feel a sense of betrayal as I'm feeling right now. I am not used to this at all, and I'm very uncomfortable with this. Very uncomfortable with this. Member for Fox Hill.
Is what now happens with that parts of the statement which are already in the public domain? Because there are a number of assertions which were made. The first point of which was that the government had breached some statutes in not declaring information which the statutes had mandated for us to do. And the question is whether we can allow that to stand uncontroverted, because I'd like to know what statute has actually been breached by the government. So in the circumstances, I'm wondering whether the entire statement has to be struck, or are we to be allowed under the rules to respond to what has been said on the points that were raised, which in our view are erroneous.
Very well. Thank you, Honourable Member. again, I started my response by asking the member how much longer he had, because this is very disconcerting right now. And I think I mentioned to member for Long Island and the member for Kalani, your concern for separation of powers is cogent. It's understandable. I feel that's fine. The chair is also very concerned about that perception. But after consultation with my clerks and all other persons whom I have chosen to and sought the advice, it was felt that an opinion from a specific requested opinion, as I've done, became only one of several. The chair is not a pawn in the advice of the executive or any arm of the executive. The role of the chair is to be independent in its decisions and its indiscretions. And I think the chair in practice has demonstrated that in these 3 years. And so for a situation like this to come up, and the chair were to openly state that the chair did receive an opinion from the law officers of the Crown, should not in any way detract from the independence of the decision that was made. Well, I understand that, and I have stated that for the record. I understand. Well, I disagree with that, and there are measures that can be had in time to remedy that. However, that is what we have at this time, and it ought not be defended in this place. So this is an inappropriate, members. This is an inappropriate place to defend that position. So the answer to your question, member for Fox Hill, the members. To answer to your question, member for Fox Hill, the member, whatever has been said, has been said. The press may take it with some degree of glee and use it for whatever purpose, and that's fine. This is an open chamber. So what is said is said. I'm not going to expunge anything, but if the member feels that there should be a response to it, the chair will allow it. But the chair is very, very concerned with the direction of the member for St. Anne's at this time. Very, very concerned. The chair has responded. The chair has finished with the matter. The matter is done. Well, the member didn't ask. Member for Fox Hill?
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to simply respond. There were a number of points which were raised, assertions made about the conduct of the government. If we are... Member, the chair recognizes the member for Fox Hill. The chair will allow member for... If we are following these rules, it says it gives the opportunity for the government to respond to any assertions which are made in the statement on the adjournment. Right. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not getting that bit. That's between yourselves and the Speaker. I only made a request. I said, I asked the Speaker whether in the circumstances the matter would be struck entirely, or was the government going to be given an opportunity to respond? That's the question which was before the Speaker. And he then called on me.
Very well. Thank you.
I'm not certain where we are, sir.
Well, where we are is the member for St. Anne's, the chair asked the question as to how much time you have given this, because the chair is completely unaware of this.
I understand, and I appreciate that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want to say to you, there's no way, it was not my intention to offend you in any way. Let me just, for the record, okay? For the record, let me just say that publicly. Okay? What I was trying to do, Mr. Speaker, was to put it in context, and I was going to get to Rule 17.1 and 17.5, and I was going to develop that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what I would like to do is to just stop right here. Let me stop here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Fox Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the first point I wanted to, I've already I've already raised in connection with this. The first point that I take issue with is that of the question of the assertion made in the statement, and I haven't seen the written statement, which indicates that the government breached statutes which required the government to disclose or declare information. I would ask the member if he would tell us what the specific instances are where this government has breached a statutory requirement to disclose information. And identify which statutes, which agencies he's talking about, because I don't recall that there's been any such breach.
Member mentioned something about a statute that the member for St. Anne's said that the government or you violated. I don't believe, and I could be wrong, and you can remind me, but I do not believe that the member said anything about a statute. He was talking about the rules of this House, Mr. Speaker. All right? That's what he's talking about. So what the member is talking about red herrings. He's trying to introduce something else.
No, remember, I'm not going to allow this. This is not debated. If the member for St. Anne's is not going to respond, then it's the end of the matter.
Mr. Speaker, the note that I have in the statement he made was that he said information required by law. That's what he said. That we had not disclosed information required by law. So I'm assuming that that statute, that there was something which was required to be disclosed by statute that the government did not disclose. So that's what I'm asking. What is the answer to that question? Then, Mr. Speaker, he indicated he also asserted, I believe he argued, excuse me, in the negative, that the protection of the Speaker is not evident. He made that assertion. Again, where is the evidence that the Speaker does not protect the rights of the minority? Where is the evidence of it? This is an assertion made in the statement by the member. Then, the question of the establishment of BAMSI and urban renewal says that these matters, his assertion were, again, they were established contrary to the law. Where is the evidence of that? Where? Where is the evidence that a law positively requires BAMSI and urban renewal to be established by law? Where is that? By a statute, that is. Where is that? No, this is the same argument they've been coming with, Mr. Speaker, with regard to the National Intelligence Agency. You can, in the authority of the government, which has the right for the peace and good order of the country, to, by administrative means, create various bodies. And the statute can catch up with it later. That does not mean that because you don't come with a statute that it's contrary to law. Right. No, that's not what we're arguing at all. That's not what we're arguing at all. Where is the evidence of it? And then, Mr. Speaker, the question of enforcement. It was always been my understanding that enforcing the power to send for persons and papers is ultimately a decision of the House of Assembly.
Which could be done.
Even if a committee, a select committee, has the power to send for persons and papers, if the individuals do not respond to the subpoena, how is that enforced? I understand that. No, 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 no. The opinion we have is that you have to have specific powers. You have to have specific powers. And Section 14 of the Immunities, Section 14 of the Act is quite clear that you need the power of the House. You have to have the power of the House. It's not the committee. It's the power of the House. And nothing can be enforced. Even if it is a select committee, nothing can be enforced. Nothing can be enforced unless you have the power of the House behind you. And if you don't have the power of the House, it's useless. Nothing can be enforced. Nothing can be enforced. Go and read Section 14 of the Act. Read Section 14 of the Act. Is this a point of order?
No. We're not debating, and so we're not the debate rules. No, we're not on a debate.
But, Mr. Speaker, the member for Falkville's argument is predicated on a select committee. The argument is different. This is a standing committee of the House of Assembly. This is not select committee.
Anyway.
And the standing committee has its delegated power.
I'll tell you what.
And the reality is that's what he spoke to, a select committee.
Yeah, the chair, matter of fact, Foxhill, the chair would rather you not go there because that has already been dealt with in the ruling. And we're not going to get into a debate with that.
That's right.
Fine, fine.
So I would rather.
Fine.
The member for Long Island, you responded to it. Member for Foxhill, are you just about done?
Yeah. The final point is just to repeat the issue of separation of powers. Separation of powers is not in any way, I repeat, is not in any way eroded by the fact that the chief presiding officer decides to get an opinion or gets opinions from all who may come. That does not in any way erode the separation of powers. And that is a red herring. Mr. Speaker, the issues raised, the assertions raised are replete with errors, are contemptuous, are against all of the laws and conventions. It should be condemned. They are false. They are wrong. They are causing misinformation to be spread around the country. And we stand behind your ruling. We support the decision which you've made in this, and the opposition is absolutely wrong on this. Absolutely wrong. I thank you, sir.
We're going to move on from this, but I cannot, members, I cannot resist to mention that it occurred to me that the member for St. Anne's also said that the PAC will continue its work, it will call the witness, and it expect, I mean, that is egregious. That's egregious. Completely unlawful. If the member wants advice, then seek the authority of the chair and speak and talk it through based on what has happened thus far. But to stand here in this place and to say to this House and through the media of the world that you will do as you see fit. Adjournment. Chair recognized member for Kalani.
Mr. Speaker, I know that this matter is being dealt with, but I must say, Mr. Speaker, that this is a sad day in the history of Bahamas for democracy, Mr. Speaker, when it appears as if the powers of the Public Accounts Committee has been curtailed. They have literally been castrated, Mr. Speaker. And one has to wonder whether or not the Public Accounts Committee has a role in overseeing how government money, the people's money, is being spent. This is bad in the history of the Bahamas, Mr. Speaker. We are moving down the wrong pathway.
We are.
Member for Fox Hill.
Yet again, we reopen this matter. The matter of the Public Accounts Committee, and you said, Mr. Speaker, you didn't want to reopen this, but he's opened the door. The matter of the public, absolutely, running full speed ahead. All I'd say, Mr. Speaker, is the matter of the Public Accounts Committee and its role was something which was settled years and years ago. This is not a new issue. We remember from this side when Mr. Richard Demerit was the Auditor General and the then Public Accounts Committee made certain determinations and requests, and Paul Adderley was then the Attorney General, provided a defined position on what the role of the Public Accounts Committee was and, I would say, is. That has not changed from that time to this. And if you want to actually look at the nomenclature, it says the Public Accounts Committee, which means that it is meant to examine the public accounts. Not anything, not to go on a fishing expedition. It is to look at the public accounts. The public accounts. And the public accounts are those accounts which are audited by the Auditor General and laid before the House. That's the public accounts. Not to go fishing all over the place. So this ain't no sad day. It could only be a sad day for the Leader of the Opposition. But the rules are what they are. No, it's a sad day for you.
Members.
Sad day for you.
Members.
Sad day for you.
Adjournment. Take your seat. Adjournment.
Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
It's moved and seconded that the House do now adjourn. As many as are in favor will stand.
Well, a major exchange there between the member of the opposition, the head of the Public Accounts Committee, Hubert Chipman, who's the MP for St. Anne's, the Honourable Fred Mitchell, who's the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, and also the member for St. Anne's, requested to make an intervention, and he did, regarding the ruling made by the Speaker a few weeks back regarding urban renewal small home repairs. Now, in his remarks, the member for St. Anne's said some things that were taken to be offensive by the Speaker, and also by the Member of Parliament from Fox Hill representing the government, Mr. Mitchell. And some things had to be cleared up. Mr. Mitchell was concerned that the comments that the government had actually violated some statutes in accordance with law was incorrect. There was no evidence for this. And went on to say that institutes like BAMC and Urban Renewal did not need to be established or were not established in contradiction of the law. But our Janaya Noel Ferguson is at the House of Assembly right now, and I'm sure she will have further details about it along with some guests. So let's go straight to Janaya Noel Ferguson.
Quite an interesting turn of events here at the House of Assembly. It really got into a debate within a debate. The House Speaker having his ruling contested by the Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, Hubert Chipman, really calling what the Speaker ruled in breach. And he said that he's going to continue their probe into operations of the urban renewal. Now, as you may or may not know, the Speaker had directed the Public Accounts Committee to hold off until, in his investigation rather, until he was able to come back to the House with a further communication or ruling on that matter. I'm joined with the Minister of Immigration, Fred Mitchell, who also voiced his opinion on what happened today. Minister, given all of the things that the chairman said today, what can you conclude as a result of that?
Well, it appears that they are on a frolic of their own, and I don't know how they're going to enforce the subpoena, how they're going to get people to comply. They'll find themselves in a lot of legal trouble if they try to do so. It's clear from the rules, if you look at Section 14 of the Powers and Privileges Act, that, or the Immunities Act, that you have to come to the House and enforce a subpoena by the majority will of the House. And so you can't do it without it, and that much is clear. So I'd love to see how they're going to do it.
So there's not much they can do with that ruling already, given they said that they want to continue. How will that happen?
Well, they have the majority on the committee, so presumably they can issue the subpoenas, but would the subpoenas stand up in law? That's the question. And I think anybody who's called as a result of it would, of course, say that the subpoena is not lawful and would contest the subpoena.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.